be back from the break. You're still watching Sportman's Business. I'm Andrew Barija with Masi Katsime, driving you all the way on this Friday, as we're heading towards the weekend. And it's just 3 minutes past 8 as I speak. Just right about now. But of course, before we proceed into any other related discussions, still have to remind you that the Markets on the Zamba platform, just a few minutes left for them to start being operational. And for you to be a part of this, it's quite simple. Just dial *292#, which is the USSD code to avail with options where you'll be in position to actually buy government bonds and securities for a fee of just 15,000 Ugandan shillings. Now the markets will be opening at exactly 8:15 a.m. running all the way to 3:15 p.m. East African time. This is effective Monday up to Friday, apart from the weekends and the public holidays when these markets cannot be accessed. But of course, despite that, you have the rest of the days to capitalize and make yourself some profits. Something which I believe is very key and instrumental when it comes to your financial growth and development as an individual. And remember, still on top of *292#, you have to register with your national identification number. Yes, that is quite very key and instrumental. Now, obviously, it's my money, my future. And all Taxi East Africa tells you, do something new. Remember, it is 2023. Well, it's a Friday, and despite the fact that we're heading into the weekend, it's very important that we actually have something that we go with in the weekend, and that's why we're bringing to you very exciting business tips and quotes for today. Something that you can actually go back home and ponder about, right?
Yes.
I know there is this aspect of people concentrating on the fun, that it is fine and very okay, but who takes time to think about the coming week? Majority of the people they'll tell you that, I'm getting off the stress for the entire week. But that's why Mondays are always dull for the majority of the people.
Majority of people, actually. Why? Because today, people have already planned. People already planned for today, Saturday, Sunday.
Yeah.
So Sunday night, people are tired. The weekend was heavy, and of course, excitement, parties, drink outs, whatever it was.
But you know why? Because nobody takes time to think about the coming week.
So
because
by Monday, you remember, oh God, I have an assignment.
You remember an assignment on Sunday night that you have to do this.
So the rush hour on Monday is really funny.
But why don't we normalize weekends to be like normal days? I know we love the fun and all that, but let that be secondary, because it's not what defines we. It's part of we, but it's not what defines we. But what defines we is actually that responsibility that we owe to our masters.
Well, I think, okay, fine. Let's give it Sunday, okay? Sunday, given the fact that it's a resting day, maybe for most Christians, that is a debate of also another day, on which day
it's a very huge debate.
Yes, but Sunday. Because it's the last day of the weekend, so definitely Sunday, let's try to be home, okay? If you're to go far, go to church, come and rest, okay? I mean, let the fun and excitement stop on Saturday night, the whole night.
Sunday, start to focus on the coming week.
Start to focus. That's remember you have you have an assignment, you have presentation, prep for the next week.
Interesting. That is something really very key and important. And actually, when we put our focus on the coming week and you focus, you'll start the Monday with energy. When you have the energy to do whatever you're gonna do. Well, let's get into our tips and quotes, and of course, we shall be returning to have further discussions around them. Well, very interesting about success and daily routine. And also there is the aspect of the discussion to do with evolution. Many times, evolution is very key, right? I mean, we got to evolve according to what society puts out. It's very important, because if we don't put into consideration, I think you'll stay stuck in one area for quite some time.
Yeah. True.
So evolution is very key. It's it's modern to evolve your mindset, how you see things around happening. I'll never stop talking about Netflix and Blockbuster, because Netflix just evolved. Blockbuster stayed where it was, and that's why we don't hear about Blockbuster. And I'm so sure some of you, if you were born in the early 2000s, you don't know about Blockbuster. But it was sometime way back in the time. So evolution, of course, that's why we see these gadgets that we use every day. There is a new version. They tell you iPhone this, iPhone that, Samsung this, Samsung that. I mean, it's all evolution.
Yeah.
According to you, because challenges every day we meet new challenges. That's the funny thing. We, instead of meeting new opportunities, we meet new challenges. Okay, it's part of the world, and it's part of the destiny. It's part of the universal concept of how things really operate. But still, on top of that, we've still been given the ability to tackle such substances, such issues, by finding solutions through upgrading our aspects. That's why you find on a given website today it's being updated. That's evolution. That's part of evolution. New functions coming up every day. We are seeing artificial intelligence. Of course, it's part of the evolution that we are going in through. And yeah, more of that. Now, we also had our quote that had to do with success and a daily routine.
The secret to the future is actually embedded in your daily routine.
Let me tell you something. The secret of your future is sitting in your daily routine. It's spiritual, like I told you. Let me give you an example. Some people, if you're a speaker, people that speak, articulate, you're a poet, all that. Before you come for a presentation, one thing you need to know, I know they talk about this natural aspect, which is okay. There is being a good speaker, and you can actually, you articulate so well. But you see, even for you to articulate perfect, to do something well, there are what we call daily routines that you do to maintain that. There are physical exercise you do around your whole mouth, lip, tongue twisting to make sure that
people who sing,
even speaking, it's important
they
for you
do
to
like
have
those funny sounds.
make funny sounds to make the voice come out perfect. You see,
Yeah.
They tell you to touch your cheeks, you massage the muscles close, down in there, so that you can articulate words efficiently and cool, and you feel comfortable with yourself.
I see some slapping themselves to get in line.
Exactly. So that's a daily routine. And whenever you see somebody succeeding at some point, it's not just about them. There is something they do. There is what they call the back end. What are you doing in the back end? You see, I'm here on TV for 3 hours, but in the back end, for you to see a presentation of 3 hours it has to take me about 20 hours of preparation.
Well,
for a 3 hours manifestation.
I must say I'm a victim to such things that you're saying. So every time I have like a presentation or something, and I do prep with myself in the mirror. I'm like, oh, okay. Tomorrow is a big day. So how am I going to be presenting myself? Look yourself in the mirror, rehearse. And I mean, that is one way of boosting your confidence.
Exactly.
Looking yourself in the mirror and you're like, I got this. I think I can do it. I think that is what most actually actors do before they get on set. Getting into character. You first look yourself in the mirror and get into that character you've been given. A bossy like. But it's good. It's good. I must say, if the habits that we involve ourselves in every day on a daily for fitness, people who are planning to not to have these diseases and keep fit, keep going to the gym every day. Every day, if you want to see, if you want to live healthy and maybe probably longer, depending on God's will, but that is God's will actually.
It's always God's will for you to live a long life.
Or you eat veggies or you eat fruits. But anyway, if it is your daily routine, please don't miss out a day of working out. At least after work, you may not necessarily go to the gym and do heavy lifts and what. You do like a bit of squats, just small, just for fitness, okay? Yeah, so the daily things we do on a daily determines on what the future will be like, okay? If you're a person of prayer, if you bring in that habit in the future when you have a family, okay? It starts with you. You start praying in the morning or before you sleep. You know, you initiate it in your family. It becomes a family thing initially from you. So even if it's maybe a company or a business, okay? And before you start the day, you hold a meeting, you discuss on what everyone is going to do. Let it be a daily thing, okay? For the future. So that whoever comes in should carry on that habit.
And you see, what people don't know, it's like when you study the Gospels, when Jesus actually, when the disciples were asleep, he used to wake up in the night and he used to pray, you know, all night. And that was his secret why he became great, you know, that we talk about him till this time. 30 years of being in the back end with that secret routine, only to manifest it for 3 years until today. The impact is felt. So it shows you the power of a secret routine. I think it's the best example we can ever really give, you know. And quite so many of the people that we look really up to, Eminem, the rapper, he's great. He read the entire dictionary and put it into his head.
I didn't know.
He read the dictionary, Eminem, the Oxford Dictionary, he has it, and that's why he can easily play around with words and, you know, put this together and all that.
That's interesting. Wow.
See, Jay-Z himself, he practiced himself out that it's on record. He does not write a verse. He edits it in his head, and he can just go, let's record, and it starts to speak. If there is an issue here, it's like, no, let me cross out this line into his mind. Practice and a daily routine. And that's why you can actually be in position to see them really having this, you know, being outstanding people. You know, there is that secret routine. You don't just sleep and wake up, you know, and you feel like things are going to work out just like that.
Yeah, and another thing I must say, you know, likely people do not have plans. You will ask someone, what is the plan for the day? They'll be like, I don't know.
I don't know what to do.
Maybe whatever comes up, I think I'll go with it. So imagine you wake up with no plan, like zero.
You don't decide. It's like somebody that, imagine you're walking on the road and you've no plan to spend money that much, and then just because the border person has come and stopped you, and you feel like, I think let me bomb. I mean, you don't decide. So you hadn't even thought about it.
Yes.
Or it's like how you go to the supermarket, and it happens to me a lot. But you don't know what you want to eat. But you've just gone there, probably think when you reach there, you'll get a choice. I don't know, sometimes it really happens. But it's very key and important for us to really be focused on what we want. And by the way, a secret routine, sometimes it's never fun.
Yeah.
Let me tell you, the foundation is never fun. It's the hardest. But once it is stable, you can go far. The deeper the foundation determines how high.
Because with that, you have to forego a few things. You have to forego...
Not a few things, a lot of things.
Oh, okay.
Actually, when you start to get into the real journey of purpose and success, you realize that there are lots of things you'll have to stop doing.
And
lots of things you'll
for the young men, really, I must say, if you're in your 20s, you're beginning to work, the things you have to forego, because definitely relationships, because definitely you will have to forego such things, because
like what, relationships?
You won't have time. Someone would not understand.
No, it depends.
It depends actually, but there are people who work like from Monday to Monday, you get. And for the cases of us ladies, someone will be like, oh, maybe he's not, you know, he doesn't care about me, he's not giving me time. So definitely, instead of hurting someone's daughter, you know, you have to be like, you know what, let me just for the meantime, let me not just leave that aside. When I'm ready, when you actually ready,
You're ready.
when you're ready to start a family, you can give time to that person, okay? But this habit of I'm busy and the other one is not understanding, and then you have those small fights. Come on. It's all be serious. That's also part of sacrifice, I must say, for the future.
It is part of sacrifice. It is part of sacrifice. It is part of sacrifice.
So don't think it's not deliberate. Ladies and gentlemen, people are busy. So if they tell you they are busy, either understand or you walk away. It's that simple.
Okay. Well, that is it regarding our inspirational moment. And now let's switch and take a look at our social media trends. And of course, this is to do with the Bank of England raising interest rates. And of course, it's been making headlines all over. Let's take a look at these trends as we see what is transpiring in there. Okay. Now, interest rate rises to, this is Carol Voderman saying that interest rate rises to a 5.25 highest since the financial crisis of 2008, and it will hit the less well of the most, and of course the mortgages will rise and businesses will struggle further. I think Britain leaving the European Union was one of the huge mistakes they ever did. I remember last year there was a time that pound really declined to us. That I remember actually, for the people that do forex trade, you remember the pound against the dollar. There was a huge fall, and it doesn't seem that it's getting any better. And majority of the traders will still tell you that trading a pound on the forex trade is turning out to be a risky aspect. And now the Bank of England is raising the interest rates. We've seen this with the Federal Reserve Bank, the Bank of America. We've seen it with the European Central Bank, the Australian Central Bank, the Central Bank of Japan, with a battle to see that they can calm down the global interest rate. But what if, just a what if, that some of these policies can actually result into a global crisis? I mean, if we talk about raising interest rates, and this will affect you. We've already seen it happening with the dollar against the Tanzania, and the fuel prices are high. So don't think that this matter doesn't concern you as a Ugandan. It really does, and you need to find out and see how best you can actually go around that. So that is at Carol Volders. Interest rate rises. Well, let's take a look at the rest as we keep waiting for that. Of course, it was breaking news the whole of yesterday. Now, this is at Rustler. The Bank of England increases interest rates from 0.1% in January 2022 to 5.25%. That is in August 2023, and increasing average mortgage repayments by £500 million. Now, of course, conspiracy, paying for cost of lockdown, conspiracy to house repossessions, part of the long term, and of course, you will own nothing. You see, conspirators have already started all that, conspiracy. So the people living in the UK have to pay for the cost of lockdown because you see those people were actually catered for. Their governments catered for them. So probably it's time for them to pay back the government. It's just a conspiracy, like he has put it out there. But the Bank of England has increased the best interest rate from 5% to 5.2%. Now, one thing you need to understand is that if one central bank, most especially if we're talking about those economies that regulate the world, that really control the world, now the increase of Bank of England central bank will determine the next decision the Federal Reserve Bank is going to take, or even the Bank of America, or even the Bank of Japan, Switzerland. Once the Federal Reserve Bank makes a decision basing on Bank of England, that means there is a way it's going to affect the demand of the dollar still on the international market. I'll give still an example. We saw it with Tanzania. It has happened the same way, and you saw that fuel is high. So that doesn't mean that this is very far away from us Ugandans. It can still come to us, So just have it in mind. Just to have it in mind. Okay. the Bank of England in our trending here. Now, this chart, this is at Richard Murphy. Now, this chart was published by the Bank of England today, and what it shows is that we're heading into a serious deflation in 2025 because that downward trend in inflation won't stop at 2%. This will probably create a recession. Why is nothing being done now to prevent that happening? Actually, even the death of the Queen, some sort of way impacted the pound. Death of the Queen, Brexit. Oh my goodness, where is this heading? And what happens in those countries has an impact to us because of the relations we carry with them and the influence they have in terms of our monetary policies. We saw something about IMF and Kenya. IMF trying to give advice on Kenya's to enhance economic recovery. Now, this is at James Melville. I say it's rising interest rates could combat inflation. Inflation causes. It says rising interest rates to combat inflation causes more financial pain on many mortgage holders and SMEs. How true is this? As you can actually see that, rising interest rates. Interest rates all the time. Interest rates rising all the time. Trying to curb inflation. But actually this might really cause a more financial pain, like he's saying. So rising interest rates to combat inflation causes more financial pain on many mortgage holders and SMEs. So that means once you increase that, the rate at which the commercial banks are going to be lending in out there is going to also increase. Something which is quite unfriendly to majority of the citizens. Now, the Bank of England raised interest rates by a quarter. Okay, we're heading towards a nice back. Sorry. The Bank of England raised interest rates by a quarter point. That is the 14th consecutive increase amid a fight against persistent inflation in Britain. See that? That's the New York Times. And now this is Richard Tice. He says that we're heading in towards an iceberg. Only reform has the solution to stop the UK economy from sinking. It's just getting, I understand there are people that love such turmoils happening in these nations, but we need to really know it will come to Africa too. Bank of England raises rates by 5.2%. This is at Mike Cosgrove and highly leveraged landlords. See, that is the state. Of course, we've been seeing inflation, most especially for food items in England, increasing at a great deal. And now we see that happening. The Bank of England increasing interest rates. Sometimes increasing rates to combat inflation, like someone said, can lead to more financial pain. Then this is at Trevor Mack. It says that the interest rate is increased to 5.25%. That is the highest level since the 2008 financial crisis. And mortgage rates will go up and businesses will struggle even more as a result, particularly the less fortunate. So imagine countries that are trading with England, once the prices increase, and some of these countries actually, we import some of their products. So in the next 3 months, what should we anticipate for Africa by this? It's important. If, as an entrepreneur, it's important, most especially if you're dealing in export business. It is important to really take this consider it as a great deal, and not to just on a look at. I know it's worrying, but the earlier you get to understand it, and you can come up with a better way to overcome it, I can guarantee you can actually be in position to overcome it. Well, it's 27 minutes past 8. Of course, I would still have to remind you that the markets on the Zebra platform are back. As I speak right now, actually, they have opened. Star 292 hash is simply the code. What are you waiting for? Here, you'll be available with options where you're going to be in position to actually buy government bonds and securities for just 15,000 Ugandan shillings. Yes, the markets open at 8:15 and they are running all day up to 3:15 p.m. East African time. This happens Monday up to Friday. Apart from the weekends, like tomorrow, the markets are not going to be operating. Apart from the weekends and the public holidays, when those markets cannot be accessed. But of course, away from that, you have all the rest of the days to capitalize and make yourself some profits something which I believe is very key and influential when it comes to your development financially. And still remember, on top of *292# you have to register with your NIN, or what we call the National Identification Number. If Zabo says my money, my future, all Texas East Africa tells you do something new. Now let's get into the break, and when we return, business in sports and entertainment, and of course something as we do our movie review, something coming in from Ghost Riders 2, and of course we get to realize that part 3 is also in the pipeline. All right, let's get into the break. More of that will be coming up.